Okay, here I am going to try to describe how to finish off the top of one of the little owls two ways. Let me see if I can get all the way out here. Okay, so here's my little owl. The starts with the square bottom, and I've worked my way up. When I've stuffed it with some yarn scraps here just to demonstrate, and what I notice when I mush it flat, so here's the straight flat side toward me, is that the yarn tail doesn't quite come out of the corner. What I want is for it to be over here, but it's coming out of the back. So what I'm going to do is just stitch this tail a few stitches this way so I can hit right into the corner. And all I'm going to do is sort of go into the inside here, just to catch the backs of these stitches on the inside just till I'm right at the corner. For me, my piece was 40 stitches around, and so I've got to go basically halfway down the first side, which is just 5 stitches. So let me turn this over and show you that. Actually, maybe easier from this side a little bit. I'll just work backwards. So actually, I'll work left-handed just so you can see it a little better. Okay, so here's my tail coming out of the piece right here. I'm just gonna plunge right into the front of the next stitch, right into the front, pull it toward the inside. Then I'm gonna just sort of flip open the inside of my piece a little bit and just go about 5 bumps over to the other side. And all I'm doing is simply catching the backs of some of these stitches. Let's see if I can grab one here. Just like the purl bump on the back of your stitch. There's one. And all that's doing is letting me travel over to my corner, which will be right over here, without it showing in the back. Second stitch, let me pick that one up. It's really windy here, sorry about that. And so you could do this left or right-handed, just whatever is going to make comfortable. Just go an eighth of the way around your piece again. So if I had a 40 stitch around owl, you may have a different number, but for 40 stitches, it's scooching over 5 stitches or so, just until it's about in the corner. And I'm just gonna come from the same direction, doesn't matter. I'm just getting it halfway over. All right, just one more stitch. And I'm gonna come up this time because I want it to come out the corner. So just coming up, catching the backs of these stitches on the inside of my piece. And now I'm gonna fold it in half. I've got a flat side, so one of the sides of the square right toward me, and I can see that my tail comes out of precisely the corner when I fold the front and back together. And now what I'm going to do is whip stitch across the top of this. And by whip stitch, what I mean is you're going to sew these two sides together coming from the same direction every time, instead of going sort of up and then across and down and across like a ladder stitch. This is just a simple whip stitch, and it's the easiest way to close a little toy like this. It's not gonna show, it's not gonna really matter at all. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the little V shapes where my cast off was, my bind off, and I like to catch just the front of one or the top of one and come back here and catch the back of one. So it's the two closest sides of that V, of each of those V's right next to each other. You could go through all 4 sides of the V's. It'll just make for a bulkier seam, that's all. So for me, I like to just catch half of each of those bulky seams, or the bind up, so I don't have a bulky seam. So I went front to back, and again, this time, because it's whip stitch and not ladder stitch, I'm going to come from the front again to the back. And what it does is it makes a little loop of yarn over the top. So here I'm catch the back of that one and the front of the next one. I'm just catching the next stitches over, getting my yarn out of the way here, and I'm going to pull it all the way through. And you'll see that it sort of whips over the top. And I want that. So again, we'll catch the next stitch, the front of this stitch, the back of this stitch, and again, make sure my yarn isn't caught in there. And you can see it sort of creates a little, just a little stitch across the top, front to back. Make sure, let's catch this one a little better. Let's get my other hand. See if I can get my other hand out of the way here. The sun is really bright and it's windy, so things are blowing around. Alright, so again, get the yarn out of the way so you can see I'm catching the top of my bind off stitch here, going across and catching the top of my bind off stitch there. Oops, I already went through that one, so I want to go one over. And you don't have to be really accurate with this, it's just sort of, it's a nice little, pretty easy to do decorative clothes, like that. And you can see that these are all catching across. I don't have any gaps because I'm going one stitch here, the next stitch here, the next stitch here, front to back always front to back, never up and down. And that just gives me a nice even finish to my owl. I'll do one more. And then you could attach the beak and the eyes before you did this step and before you stuffed it, or afterwards. I like to do it afterwards because I know that I'm going to be precisely on the front after it's folded, instead of, you know, kind of halfway and have the face sort of on this surface here, instead of on the very front. But that is up to you. So that's the whip stitch. Again, you're going either completely under your bind off stitches, these little V's here, going under both of them on the front and both of them in the back, or just through the middle of one and then up through the middle of the next one here and pulling it through. And I'm stitching left-handed just so I'm not quite in the shadow, but it works either way. You would just hold the needle in your right hand. I'm used to demonstrating things mirror image for folks, so I'm used to doing it either way. And here, let me complete it really quickly so you can see what it looks like when it's done. Get in there. This yarn has some silk content to it, so sometimes it doesn't want to stitch. It's a little tough. I'm almost done. I just have this little gap to take care of here. And I'm gonna go through one more time here. You could tie a little knot in the end here if you wanted to, just to sort of secure your yarn. But really, if you take your tail into the body of your owl, it's, unless something's really gnawing on it, a kid or a cat or something, it's not really going to affect it. So here, let me lift this up. You can kind of see a little bit. So I've got the top all stitched up. It is parallel to the front face here of my owl, so I know that it's not going to twist or look like it's looking over its shoulder or anything like that. And now I can go ahead and put the eyes and the beak on. I hope that helps. Let me know if you need any more. Thanks. Bye.